I wonder what you think it means to survive something. Because as part of writing this absolutely gorgeous book, you you did so much looking back and so much fact checking and so much looking into medical records and uh, like trying to piece together all the bits of your story. And I imagine kind of locking it into a framework of like, what did I experience, but then also what happened to me. When I hear your story and you've survived so much and you had to piece together what happened to you, I wonder how you think about survival and its cost, I guess.
Yeah. After I got into Harvard and it totally changed my life, I started to really buy into this idea that getting something that very few people get, like admissions to an elite university, that it was kind of this debt that I was going to carry with me for the rest of my life, where I had to be this person that I promised I was in my applications, where I was this smiling, grateful, happy overcomer.
Yeah.
And that everything that contradicted that had to be like pushed down.
Yeah.
Like when I started having nightmares and being unable to sleep through the night, and just like screaming when people came up behind me, that it was like my duty and obligation to be this like paragon of like a happy, smiling person.
Yeah.
Because that response, it restores a kind of order in the world, right? Of like, okay, people go through hard things and they survive it, and then like look how amazing they are at the end. And I, in my like in my mid-20s, that pressure really became overwhelming. And it did coincide with like I was writing this book. I knew I wanted to write it, and I felt like I needed to have a very happy ending. And I literally went through my life and I would tell people I'm happying ending. Like everything that I do is that I can have a happy ending for this book, and I'm going to like heal my relationship with my mom, and I'm going to be like so healthy. I'm going to be able to run fast marathons and like be this perfect shiny person. But that expectation was actually worse than the actual aftermath of what happened when I was a child and a teenager. Because it's like it that expectation was not something that I could ever like move on from, because it dictated my whole entire future.
I see. And you're like a survivor forever. You're like
Exactly.
You're like paying back a debt. But the truth is, you were in debt at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I really hated that word survivor, because it was like there were certain people who I felt like their struggles were okay.
I see.
And where they were like, you know, I'm proud, or not proud, but they were like people who were public survivors and whose lives had told them that it was okay to talk about what happened to them.
Yes.
And like okay to be angry and okay to say like my experience means something. And that was a really hard part of going to college at Harvard, because you see all these, you know, the charity founders, people passing bills. And I'm like, I don't feel like what happened to me matters. Like, and I don't feel like I'm allowed to be angry about it or that it means anything.
Yeah.
And so I ended up I had to go into this place of like deep negativity. And I think negativity can be really undervalued in our culture.
You are singing my sweet, sweet song, Emi. I will listen to you say that all day. Tell me why negativity like helped you.
What happened to me was so messed up.
Yes.
And it was not just me. It's millions of young people are being like messed up in the same ways. Yeah. And I had to just be like, I'm going to be upset. And if I'm going to be upset about this every day for the rest of my life, like that is okay. Yeah. And that is my prerogative. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I'm going to be nasty to people because of it, but like I don't owe anybody my happiness. And I think it was also like recognizing, okay, if I had been born like into like one of these upper middle class families, like some of the stuff that happened would be a tragedy and people would be mourning it. And there's no reason that I don't deserve that just because I was not born into those circumstances. And I mean, I was working on the book and I wrote like the most depressing ending that like I can even imagine, right? Where I was like ending my memoir and I was like, every day I like basically I think about suicide, but I'm not going to do it because I owe Harvard. And like that was literally an ending, but I had to go there and I had to let myself go there in order to realize that like that idea that we're made stronger by everything that happens to us, that is messed up.
Yes.
Like some people I'm sure are made stronger by everything that happens to them. Like good for them.
Yes.
I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah.
You're not a healthy person for me to be around.
Yes.
But for me, that's not true. Like I'm a different person.
Yeah.
I'm changed by what happened to me, but that is okay.
Yes.
And I think the idea that it's not okay to be affected by tragedy is a big lie. It's a big lie, and it's used to uphold the status quo
Yes.
and to say like, okay, nothing needs to change, everything is fine, and you're the problem.
As we would say in religious circles, that'll preach. That's so good. Oh my gosh, that's so good, Emi. I wish I'd read you 5 years ago. It's so good. That feeling where it's where you just need a minute to actually like be honest about the cost. There was this I was writing about I was looking at all the charts of all the people who didn't make it in these clinical trials and under what conditions they would give them the drug or not give them the drug. And how you make these casual evaluations about whose life is worth being sad about, what people deserve, these really, really like bald and terrible ways. And I think I said something like, there is no accounting. Like when I look at these charts, like there is no accounting for the things we've done, for the things done to us. And like, who is that just kind of like, sometimes it just like, it just breaks your heart to be, to feel the actual cost of what nobody can undo now. But dear God, aren't people still running around supporting the same systems?
Yeah. I think that that's one of the joys of being able to write memoir is that it's so hard to understand what a million people means.
Yes.
But we all know one person.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for this conversation, honestly. Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful too. Thank you so much for having me.